From around the world and from CBS News headquarters in New York, this is the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather.
And a good Christmas evening, everybody. It's now early morning Christmas Day in Poland. Only hours ago, the country's military ruler, General Wojciech Jaruzelski, spoke directly to the Polish people for the first time since he imposed martial law nearly 2 weeks ago. In a Christmas Eve radio address, Jaruzelski vigorously defended that action. He said that sooner or later, the truth about Poland will be known around the world, and then he will be vindicated. Tom Fenton monitored the speech in London. Here is his report.
General Jaruzelski spoke over Warsaw radio for the first time since the army takeover, while Polish television ran pictures of him greeting troops. Jaruzelski said martial law was a lesser evil than civil war, and said Poland must find her own way out of the crisis. He denied that there have been hundreds of deaths or that people were dying of cold in internment camps, denials that were echoed by his close advisor, Wiesław Kornicki.
You know, all those stories about people being kept in tents on snow, suffering from thirst, this is a plain idiocy. You will, just in a few days, you will see for yourself, you will be able to speak to those people, and you will be permitted to carry every single story that they have to tell.
Jaruzelski was also shown meeting the Pope's special emissary, Archbishop Poggi, who delivered a letter from the Polish-born pontiff. The Catholic Church has been cautious in its criticism of the new regime, but in a homily prepared for Christmas Eve, the Primate of Poland, Archbishop Klemp, spoke of violence, the suspension of civil rights, and the danger of civil war. Despite the Army's growing success in imposing military discipline, life is far from normal tonight as Poland celebrates Christmas. More than 1,000 defiant workers are still barricaded in coal mines in Silesia. Thousands of men and women are interned without charges. The people of Poland, cut off from the outside world and largely cut off from each other, live in fear and uncertainty, short of fuel in bitter cold weather, and desperately short of even the most basic foods. With an irony that bordered on cruelty, Polish television tonight showed obviously staged scenes of happy Poles stuffing themselves on an array of tempting, succulent dishes. By all accounts, such abundance is beyond the reach or even the imagination of the vast majority of Poles who spend countless hours waiting in lines in front of stores for even a loaf of bread. Tom Fenton, CBS News, London.
Here in Washington, senior State Department officials said Jaruzelski's speech was surprisingly positive and moderate. They were particularly impressed by the general's expressed willingness to countenance a self-governed trade union. The big question now, according to these officials, is how far the Soviets will let the Polish authorities go in relaxing restrictions. U.S. officials speculated that if Jaruzelski is in fact proposing a dialogue, he is responding more to pressures from within Poland, particularly from the Church, than to pressures from the West. Jaruzelski's prime motive, according to American and European officials, is not to go down in history as the man who led Poland while the Russians invaded. U.S. officials returning from Western Europe say there's a growing feeling within NATO that tougher Allied action will be needed over the next few weeks. They say that even those nations such as Britain and West Germany, which were most reluctant to provoke the Soviets in any way, are now beginning to move ever so slowly towards Washington's position. Bob Simon, CBS News, the State Department.
For the second time in less than a week, the United States has granted political asylum to a defecting Polish ambassador. Poland's envoy to Japan said the use of troops against the Polish people was the final straw, that he could no longer represent such a government. Barry Peterson was in Seattle when the ambassador arrived.
Zaslaw Ruars had been Poland's ambassador to Japan since February. He was known to be a sympathizer with Solidarity's cause, but still, his defection with his wife and daughter came as a surprise. Security was extremely tight as he left Tokyo and when he landed in Seattle, and again when he left for Washington. Government agents boarded the flight and whisked the ambassador and his family through customs, citing security problems as a reason to keep him temporarily under wraps. Others in the first-class cabin described the ambassador's mood as very upbeat. He talked with several passengers, telling them he was very satisfied with his decision to defect.
The people that were on board were just trying to convey to him that the American people were very happy to have him here and wished him Merry Christmas, and he indicated that he hoped it wouldn't be too long before they could get home to a free Poland. Exactly what
According
he did
to another passenger,
get his wife
Bob
and daughter
White,
out.
the ambassador arranged a phony invitation to a Christmas party as a ruse to get his wife and daughter out of the embassy and away from armed Polish guards there. White said the ambassador talked about his service in the Polish army as a major cause of his defection.
He joined the army with a mission to protect the country from outside aggression, and that he could not handle or stand was the exact word. The idea of the army turning against its own citizens.
The ambassador also wrote in Polish a Christmas greeting to White's Polish relatives who live in this country, signing it as former ambassador and adding a postscript, quote, written somewhere over the Pacific on the way to a free America.
And it's written on what?
Barry Peterson, CBS News, Seattle.
Poland's ambassador to the United States, Romuald Spaskowski, was the first Polish envoy to defect. He was granted asylum in Washington earlier this week. Today, the new acting Polish ambassador paid a visit to the State Department. He was greeted by a department official who, on his lapel, was wearing a button that said, Solidarity.
Some people think sunflower seeds taste so good that...
I could eat them all day long.
But did you know they make a perfect oil for cooking?
Sunlight, all natural from sunflower seeds.
Sunlight is 100% sunflower seed oil. And that means it's lower in saturated fats than all the leading oils.
Oh, Charlie's gonna love this.
With no cholesterol.
I love it.
Sunlight, all natural.
From the seed of the sunflower.
This is Aldo Cella. He's not preoccupied with formality.
Cella Lambrusco.
He's not the height of grace. But he knows what people like. Cella wines, with a taste so sparkling, so refreshing, they're perfect with everything, every time, to everyone.
Cella Bianco. Mwah. Chill a Cella.
The State Department said today that Polish fishing boats are being directed away from U.S. waters. One of the actions ordered by President Reagan in his nationwide speech last night to put pressure on Poland and the Soviet Union. A Coast Guard spokesman in Seattle, however, says no orders have been received about the Polish boats, and 21 of them were conducting business as usual off the coast of Alaska. In any case, U.S. officials note that the fishing season is almost over, and most of the Polish fleet is preparing to return home on its own. At the White House tonight, Leslie Stahl reports that the crisis spirit has given way to the Christmas spirit.
If you came to the White House today, you'd get the impression that the Polish crisis had disappeared. Most of the officials who've lived on a heavy diet of National Security Council meetings over the past week simply didn't show up today.
The president, for instance, spent the day at home with his wife. As one aide explained, the speech last night was a peaking of his efforts. Now the only thing to do is sit and wait for a response. Officials say the president will go to California on Sunday no matter what happens in Poland, and that he will not be accompanied by any of his top advisors. Most of his aides, as you can see by the White House parking lot, took the day off. The big three were out of town. Baker, home in Texas, Meese and Deaver off together to Williamsburg. As for reaction to the speech, officials say some calls have come in complaining that tougher steps should have been taken against the Russians. But most of the calls last night were positive. There was no count today, though, by the comment office.
This office will be closed Thursday, December 24 through Sunday, December 27. Please call back.
Even the State Department's working group on Poland, which has been operating round the clock, is getting the night off. The group has been monitoring international reaction to the speech, which one official said has not been negative except for Moscow. Pravda, he said, went into orbit.
Another official reports that the Polish people fear that the president may have pushed their government into a corner and thereby delayed the relaxing of martial law, but that the people wanted and appreciated the show of support anyway. To further demonstrate that support, a lighted candle has been placed in a first-floor window of the White House. As the president said last night, a small but certain beacon of our solidarity with the Polish people. Leslie Stahl, CBS News, the White House.
Not once, but twice, the Soviet news agency TASS laced into President Reagan today for his speech last night. TASS said the economic sanctions Mr. Reagan announced are a shocking intrusion into Poland's affairs. And tonight, TASS added that Mr. Reagan's charge of Soviet collusion is slanderous and totally groundless. CBS News Moscow correspondent Don McNeil tells us that TASS reporters in Poland have been filing reports, the likes of which aren't normally seen in the Soviet Union.
For the past few days, the Soviet news agency TASS has been doing something unusual. Each day it actually reports from Poland an example of what it calls counter-revolutionary resistance. First, the Soviet people could read about Polish miners barricading themselves underground and defying security forces. Next came a report about Polish workers seizing a steel mill in Katowice and threatening to blow up the furnaces. Then a report about the discovery of hidden arms depots and a hit list to exterminate communists. Some of the Soviet people have noticed the difference in TASS too, and in some cases the reaction is fear. People say they are frightened that martial law doesn't happen in communist countries, only in Latin America. Others say the Poles got what they deserved and are angry about the prospect of having to feed them when food is in short supply here. As for Western diplomatic sources here, they believe the unprecedented TASS coverage may be linked to reports that the Soviet maneuvers in September were in fact a rehearsal for possible intervention in Poland, and to statements by certain Soviets that they would intervene if General Jaruzelski lost control. However, the sources say, even if the TASS reports are preparing the Soviet people in advance for a possible military intervention, it is still something that most of the Soviet leadership do not want to do, for they know that the price will be very high. Don McNeil, CBS News, Moscow.
As war reunions go, this one was most unusual. 4 American veterans of the Vietnam War, including one paralyzed by a Viet Cong bullet, returned to Vietnam this week to meet the former enemy and shake hands. But they had 2 other goals: information about 2,500 Americans who never came back from the war and whose fate remains unknown, and they sought information for thousands who did come back and who believe they were injured by American use of the chemical defoliant Agent Orange. The Vietnamese promised help on both scores as the veterans came out today. Skeptics point to the timing of permission for the visit and suggest that Hanoi manipulated the veterans for propaganda purposes.
I may not seem special to you, but in this house I am. When my daughter went back to work, I offered to help with the twins. So when I get a cold, I want to relieve all my cold symptoms. I take a complete cold medicine, Cotylenol.
Cotylenol is a complete cold medicine because it relieves congestion, cough, runny nose, aches, pains, fever, everything. Cotylenol is so complete.
Nobody knows I have a cold.
Cotylenol, complete cold medicine. No cold product relieves more cold symptoms.
Lloyd Nolan for Super Polygrip.
I've used Super Polygrip for 5 years now. I don't need this script.
Cut. But Lloyd...
Listen, it's murder when you get seeds stuck under your dentures like this. Ouch! Now watch Super Polygrip. It helps form a seal between your dentures and gums.
Occlusive seal, Lloyd.
Helps keep food out, dentures in. Simple.
Extra holding formula.
The package says that. Super Polygrip helps keep food out, dentures in.
Milwaukee police are back on their beats tonight after a 16-hour strike. They walked out to protest a black city councilman's remarks considered derogatory to white officers. The dispute followed the shooting deaths yesterday of 2 Milwaukee police officers. Well, the young woman had told customs agents at Dallas-Fort Worth Airport that no, she was not carrying more than the allowable $5,000 in cash. In fact, she was over the limit, but not by much. Tonight, that woman is being held on $500,000 bail. Steve Croft reports it isn't because of the money, but because of the woman's connection to former CIA agent Edwin Wilson, who is wanted for allegedly supplying explosives and weapons to Libyan leader Colonel Muammar Gaddafi.
Federal authorities have wanted to talk with Roberta Jean Barnes for a long time, and unless she can come up with a $500,000 bond, they will have their chance. She was arrested Monday at the Dallas-Fort Worth Airport and held on a minor customs violation until authorities discovered her connection with ex-CIA agent Edwin Wilson. Sources close to the case say Miss Barnes ran Wilson's London operation and is a key operative in his international arms smuggling operation. The Justice Department has issued a warrant naming her as a material witness, and bond has been set at $500,000.
The woman comes into the country with less than $50 over the amount, and she finds herself subject to a bond over $500,000. That's 100 times the amount of the alleged offense.
At a secret hearing in Fort Worth today, a lawyer flown in from Washington argued that the bond should be reduced to allow Miss Barnes to spend the holidays with her son and family in Austin. The motion was denied. As it stands now, Roberta Barnes will be sent to Washington to face a federal grand jury and perhaps a deal, tell what she knows about Edwin Wilson, or perhaps face criminal charges herself. Steve Croft, CBS News, Fort Worth.
The Internal Revenue Service today is thinking past Christmas to its annual wish for many happy returns. The agency says the first of about 91 million federal income tax forms will turn up in the nation's mailboxes Saturday.
Susan, I can't sleep with this darn itch.
Neither can I with all your squirming.
Here, try my new Prep Court. It's a special hydrocortisone cream formula.
Prep Court?
It's something new from Preparation H. Prep Court can often give fast temporary relief from external itch associated with hemorrhoids.
Hydrocortisone cream. Great idea. I'll try it. Hey, the itch is gone.
Now I can get some sleep.
New Prep Court hydrocortisone cream. Fast relief from itch.
This year, give your gifts that extra touch. Duracell batteries. They make holiday fun last longer than regular carbon batteries.
You think of everything, even Duracell batteries.
Oh, and Duracell, too. What a nice touch. Wow, it's neat.
Try it out. I put in Duracell batteries.
Duracell. The extra touch that makes holiday fun last longer.
For most, it won't be in time for Christmas, but in Sacramento, California today, the first batch of surplus cheese for the needy was released from government warehouses and was picked up by charity groups that will distribute it. Nationwide, 30 million pounds of cheese now being stored at government expense will be distributed to charity cases. In the Dickens novel A Christmas Carol, Scrooge meets the ghost of Christmas present near a heap of turkeys, geese, game, brawn, great joints of meat, suckling pigs, long wreaths of sausage, mince pies, plum puddings, barrels of oysters, red-hot chestnuts, cherry-cheeked apples, juicy oranges, and great bowls of punch. Dickens knew, and Scrooge learned, that there was another world beyond all that plenty, a world of the workhouse, poverty, and indifferent government. Tomorrow, many of us will sit down to a Christmas feast, but Ed Rabel reports from another America.
The song is about happiness and goodwill, but the singers are not merry. To them and to others their age, this time of year brings little cheer.
I put in for this food quite a long time ago, but I didn't get it, so I just prayed and asked God to help me.
Is this the only meal you have every day?
Mm-hmm. That's why at night I might have a snack after all. But this is my main meal.
Are you hungry at any time?
I'm hungry now. I know what I'm eating. Orange. You have a pepper?
If you are one of these people, the reason you are at this federally funded feeding center in Philadelphia is you are old and poor. And the likelihood is that you are hungry, hungrier than you've ever been before.
They're desperate, they're scared, and they have a reason to be scared. Because they're picking up a paper and they're listening to the news reports and they hear that this week this is going to be cut, and next week this is going to be cut, and they have nowhere to turn.
It's tasty. Whatever it is.
Federal spending cuts that hurt old people may be the unkindest cuts of all. In Philadelphia, some meals for the old people are being cut out. Instead of 5 meals a week, some get only 3, and some none at all.
If the noontime meal, which you receive at the center, if that is over with, if it's eliminated, if it is no more, what will you do?
God knows. Why, you mean to give me each? Why, they going to do that?
No, But I say if that were to happen.
Oh, no, don't say that. That's the only pleasure I got to go there.
This is, they sent you a Christmas present.
Oh, bless their heart. Oh, isn't that lovely?
The people at the feeding centers are alone together. That is something. These people are alone. To them, the food must be delivered. Mary Robinson, a victim of multiple sclerosis, is a virtual prisoner of her own second floor.
It's important because it's a very nourishing lunch. And at this hour that they bring it, I'm ready for lunch.
Mary Robinson is lucky. She's still receiving her food. Anita Faulkner, who suffered a stroke a year ago, has been on the waiting list for home delivery since September.
How important would it be to have a meal delivered to you every day?
Oh, it would be beautiful, because I'm trying to wonder what I'm going to have for lunch right now. I was, before you people came, I was back there in the kitchen saying, what am I going to have for lunch? I said, have I got any soup left?
$5 for $1, baby.
The government says none of America's truly needy is being hurt by cutbacks in social programs. Tell that to the 6 million older Americans who are poor or just skirting the poverty level. They shop in the midst of inflation and recession, and they know better.
Are old people starving in Philadelphia?
I think they are. I think they are. Not as we would look at a photograph of someone starving in Biafra, not something that obvious and that overt, but on a daily basis, yes.
There are a lot of people out there who are chronically undernourished simply because they don't have the resources to buy the food.
Loretta Schwartz Noble, an author and expert on hunger, spoke with Dan Rather.
This is a generous country. It's a generous-hearted country. Aren't the needy being cared for, by and large?
I'm afraid that they're not. I'm afraid that many of them are getting a little bit of help from somewhere. But what happens is, in many cases, that it's enough so that they don't die, but it's not enough so that they truly can live.
Exactly how many old people go hungry in America, nobody knows. We do not keep records of such things. Americans do not suffer defeat gladly, and most forget or pretend to forget that they are in our midst. In good times, there are few who notice. In hard times, they seem closer to us than we'd like.
It is worse during the holidays. People are supposed to be together during the holidays, but reality intrudes. These people are alone, the poor, the sick, those who have no one to care for them. They are us, and we reject them. They may be the faces of our future. Ed Rabel, CBS News, Philadelphia.
Know what? For intestinal gas pains and pressure, I found these Gas-X tablets so much better.
Watch. Intestinal gas bubbles are much like bubbles in beer. Add the leading antacid here, Gas-X here, and stir. 1 minute later, antacid shows little change, but Gas-X breaks the gas bubbles. They're almost gone.
For intestinal gas pains and pressure after meals, get medically proven relief. Gas-X.
Believe it or not, if 9 out of 10 of these homes burn down, there's no guarantee they'll be totally rebuilt. Because rebuilding costs are rising so fast, even inflation protection may not cover a home fully. But now, Allstate's got the brand new home replacement guarantee. Get it and get your home built back just like it was, even if rebuilding costs more than you're covered for. Ask your Allstate agent about the new home replacement guarantee. For ideas that make good sense today, you're in good hands with Allstate.
While Christmas is a time of joy and celebration, Poland has entered a dark night of the spirit. In his speech yesterday, President Reagan urged Americans to light a candle this Christmas Eve as a beacon of solidarity with the people of Poland. As Charles Osgood reports, the lighting of candles in much of the world tonight goes beyond President Reagan's request, goes to the meaning of the Christmas message itself, goes to the heart of man's desire to show an affirming flame.
It is only a symbol, nothing more, this lighting of candles tonight. But then Christmas is a time of powerful symbols. The star, a symbolic beacon leading the way to peace and justice. The gifts, symbols of love. Lights, blazing symbols of faith and hope. And candles in the window. In Europe, this became a Christmas Eve custom because, who knows, the traveling strangers given light in the darkness might be Mary and Joseph seeking shelter from the night. Darkness is a symbol too, a symbol of ignorance and evil. Christmas Eve and candles burn tonight on both sides of another symbol, the Berlin Wall. In Paris, candles in the rain. This year they burn for the silenced, the repressed, the prisoners of Poland. Vienna, and candlelight in the snow. The Vatican, and a window of the apartment of Pope John Paul II. Whatever the official and political responses may be, this is the human response. The hope that somehow the warmth and light of a candle in Vienna or Chicago or Rome may reach into the cellars of Warsaw, the shipyards of Gdansk, and the mines of Silesia. Only a symbol, nothing more, but an ancient and eloquent one. You know the Chinese proverb, it is better to light one candle than to curse the darkness. Charles Osgood, CBS News, New York.
And that's the CBS Evening News this Christmas Eve. Dan Rather reporting from New York. From all of us, Merry Christmas and all the season's greetings to all of you. Good night.
In the mountains of southern Colombia, for centuries the cloth has been woven by hand. It is not the fastest way, but it is part of the heritage. The same dedication to heritage that has been passed to Juan Valdez. He picks the Colombian coffee as it has been picked for centuries, by hand, bean by bean. Only at the moment when it is best. It is no surprise that a country so rich with tradition grows the richest coffee in the world.
Take a fast look at Volkswagen's 82 Scirocco. As you can see, it's been totally redesigned. Take a closer look and you'll see a lower, aerodynamically sleeker front end, curved glass areas, and a functional rear spoiler for better handling and performance, all of which makes the 82 Scirocco one good-looking German sports car. The only problem is getting a good look at one.
From around the world and from CBS News headquarters in New York, this has been the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather. This is CBS.